Remember the Titans is objectively one of the best football movies of all time. The movie came out over 25 years ago, but it still has a complete cult following still to this day. Generations, even millennials and Gen Xers will tell you every gym teacher's go-to movie when it was raining outside was Remember the Titans. It was a perfect movie that embodied the American spirit, and it was based around football, the most American sport in the world. I'm not gonna lie, I loved this movie as a kid. The storyline was great, the plot is layered, it's a timepiece which is always fun, the acting is pretty incredible, and even the football scenes are pretty badass. A ton of the characters have become classics, most notably Sunshine, Trevor Lawrence, not to mention the catchy "We Are the Titans," the mighty, mighty Titans chant that I still hear to this day. But what if I were to tell you this entire film is a lie? And I don't mean that in general, like in the Hollywood sense, like this movie is less historically accurate than Titanic. This movie is less historically accurate than Damn and Glorious Bastards. Essentially what I'm trying to say is that the story this film is based on is so far removed from the movie that they really aren't even the same story. Now, before you come after me, settle down, settle down. I think it's important to research these things. Obviously, Hollywood wants us to feel one way or another about real-life situations and historical events, so naturally Hollywood usually greenlights movies that fit these narratives. They will stamp a based on a true story brand cover on it, and people will eat it up like it's real history. Now, I want to make this distinction very clear from the outset. I love Remember the Titans. It is truly a great movie. The purpose of this video is to simply tell the true story of what happened on those football fields over 50 years ago. So with that in mind, let us begin with the true story of Disney's Remember the Titans. Now, while most of the movie is based on a few true events, much of the plot was either exaggerated or entirely fictionalized. As in real life and in the movie, Herman Boone, played by Denzel Washington, who was named the head coach of T.C. Williams High School football team in 1971, and I would really like to focus on Herman Boone for just a second. Throughout Remember the Titans, Boone is presented as a very strict yet very moral head coach. We do see that he had a tendency to occasionally push his players too hard. We even see in the movie from the famous "We will do up downs until Blue is no longer tired anymore" classic scene. Now, while Denzel seems like a badass in this scene and in the movie, the real Herman Boone would have put him to shame. According to tons of first-hand accounts, he was constantly both mentally and physically abusing his players. This resulted in several players having a heat stroke or even passing out on the field. This ultimately came to heads when Herman Boone's own team walked out on him and refused to play. And the crazy thing was that the assistant coaches were on the players' side. Everyone in their right mind could see that Herman was pushing his boys way too hard. He was let go after this season. This is something that often gets swept under the rug when talking about Boone. I remember as a kid the true story was a little bit more well known, but now it seems that part of this history has been completely erased and brushed under the rug. Now he is simply portrayed as a martyr for the black community and a strong pillar of his community, when in reality most of his community was terrified of him. This has always bothered me. Boone should be remembered for all the great things that he has done, yes, but I don't think we should simply dismiss his behavior towards his players. The guy was a child abuser. When you've been getting complaints for years and it culminates in your entire team walking out on you, you know you've gone too far. But anyway, enough with Boone. Jokey joke. The team did have an undefeated season, but all of the drama that takes place during and throughout the movie is pretty much completely made up. The biggest one being the scandal in the semi-championship game. The movie tells a story that the game was rigged by the high school Hall of Fame or something. I don't even know if that's a real thing. But yeah, none of that ever happened. The game was never set up. And while there was definitely some racial tension going on in the South at the time, it is presented a lot differently in the movie than it was actually going on in real history. Throughout the movie, it is made abundantly clear to the audience that T.C. Williams High School has been newly segregated this season. But that wasn't actually the case. In fact, schools in Alexandria had been desegregated for several years prior to the 1971 football season. This one fact drives a stake through the heart of Remember the Titans. Talk about childhood ruined! The entire movie is set up to make us believe this football team, hell, this entire town is having to go through this huge segregation battle, and the players have to go on a 3-week camp to Gettysburg just to find out what kind of underwear their black teammates wear just to bond. And you're going to tell me this is all made up, and that's okay? Just to make this up? But they still had to go up against a bunch of racist white head coaches, right? And they still had to go up against a bunch of racist white players, right? Well, wrong. That was wrong too. TC Williams was not only segregated before their championship season in 1971, but most other teams in the conference were also not segregated. Most of the teams they played also had black people on them, which honestly, it makes sense. Like, how was it ever going to be fair that the Titans were the only team with black players? Like, who was going to play cornerback for literally every other school? But back to the point. Yeah, most teams weren't segregated. Most towns in the area weren't segregated like the film portrays it. In fact, it really portrays more of an early 60s Southern vibe than an early 70s Southern vibe. Another example of the propaganda of the film was to include a scene in which Sunshine, who is depicted as a hippie or really like a homosexual, and two of his black teammates are refused service at a restaurant. Again, this never happened, and likely wouldn't happen in the 70s. Again, I'm not saying racism wasn't a thing back then, and obviously it was, but it was absolutely blown out of proportion in the movie, and the race card was pushed down our throat when in reality it wasn't the main issue facing this team. In fact, the specific team didn't really have many issues. Unlike the movie, they essentially blew out every single team they played, even winning the state championship 27-0. This is why the team is immortalized more than anything. Even after the dominant state championship run, President Nixon sent a note to Herman Boone telling him how impressed he was with the team. The Titans' defense was unstoppable in 1971, and it is mainly due to Mr. Gary Bertier. Now, while Bertier is a huge part of the movie, his on-field dominance is left out of the movie. According to Julius Campbell, Bertier's real-life and in-movie teammate and best friend, Bertier was leagues ahead of anyone else on the team. As Julius said himself, he hit harder, he ran faster, and he understood the game better than all of us combined. While the movie shows Julius and Gary as more equals, which makes sense for what they were going for with the plot, in reality, Gary was leagues above Julius and really everybody else in the entire conference. The guy was really going on to play in the NFL. Now, Disney really decides to stray away from the true story when Gary Bertier gets in his accident before the championship game, and the championship game is a really close game because of this. In reality, Gary Bertier did not get injured until December. This was after the season was over, and as I've said before, they actually won the championship game, and they won it in dominant fashion, 27-0, and Gary was in the game. But this doesn't take away from the fact that Gary was truly a great player, and it is truly sad what happened to him. He ended up becoming paralyzed, which is true in the movie, but it happened in December, not before the championship game. He did become paralyzed. He did become interested in the Olympics, the Special Olympics, and he did participate in the Special Olympics. And then he did pass away 10 years later in a car accident, which that all is correct in the movie. But yeah. And again, I really don't want this to come across as a critique of Remember the Titans. I think Remember Titans is a great movie, and the message behind Remember the Titans is a great message, and it's a message that needs to resonate and needs to live on for generations. And I completely understand why Disney decided to go the direction they did with this story. However, I do think it's important to always have the historical context and really know who these people are behind the screen. And it's also interesting to know, the basis of where these stories came from and where they started from, especially a story like Remember the Titans, which is saturated culture and has been around for as long as it has. So I really hope you guys have enjoyed this. If you have, please leave me a like. Please leave me a subscribe. I'm doing everything I can to grow the channel as organically as possible, as hard as that is. Obviously, I don't use any AI or anything like that, so it takes me hours upon hours to edit these stupid little videos. So even a like or anybody even watching gives me hope. So thank you guys out there, and I will talk to you guys all later.